from what we read, it sounds like you were one of the biggest proponents for bringing recall healing to the United States.
For sure. And ultimately, I ended up organizing workshops and doing things in the United States, and other people were also. But I was the first to say, you know what, we have to, in order to have validity and credibility in our world, you have to have research. And so I started that process. And so I did my thesis in psychology on recall healing. I did my dissertation on recall healing. And then we've started an institute and I teach people how to do this. And now I'm collecting like all the data so that I can put it together and write about that too. I love natural. I love that, this is the way our body was designed to be.
Hi, friends. This is James and Kara, and we are Kerouac Cruising.
We are taking you on a journey, traveling the country with our dogs and finding remote places where the dog
and us
can roam free and play while we discuss life's growths, beauty, and some struggles along the way.
We recommend pairing our episodes with our blog at kerouacscruising.com, where we organize accurate information in an easy-to-follow format, removing all of the conversational goodies.
The link for this episode's blog post is in the show notes.
We encourage you to join the conversation by commenting where you listen, engaging with us on Facebook or Instagram at Kerouac Cruising, or email us at join@kerouacscruising.com.
In the meantime, thanks for tuning in. Sit back and enjoy the journey.
Good morning, friends. James and Kara here. And today we are joined by Dr. Michelle Lamasa Dawson, an international best-selling author, fellow co-author of the Together We Rise, The Wounded Healer's Enlightened Journey to Collective Ascension, educator and director of Recall Healing USA with over 20 years of experience in mind-body medicine. She helps people uncover the hidden emotional roots of illness and unlock their capacity for deep healing. Her compassionate and transformative approach has guided countless individuals toward greater clarity, resilience, and lasting wellness. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Michelle. We are honored to have you. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and how you kind of got into recall healing without giving away too much of your chapter in the book.
Oh, for sure. So first, it's so great to be with you guys. And I just honor you for what you do. And it's just so wonderful to be a part of such an amazing group of people. And just, through great pain comes great suffering. And so it kind of leads us all to where we are and makes us wiser, and gives us the ability to help people. And so my journey is crazy, but it definitely started from, the beginning of my life. But I'm not, normally I just go straight to I saw my aunt go through a breast cancer. I saw my mom, because she had so much trauma in her life. She literally was she's had 30 different surgeries. And so I kind of got to see firsthand that the doctors didn't believe her, that she was in pain, that they would just throw medication at her. And I always knew, of course we all have that innate truth. And it's you know what? There's something not right. And so that kind of led to conversations. I thought psychology was going to be my avenue because, relationships and brokenness in the back. And so when I was, it took a while even to get to that point, but I took health psychology and biopsychology, and I was like, oh, this is really this resonates deeply with me, that emotions and trauma and things that we've experienced. And then at the same time, I found my mentor, Gilbert Renault, who started what we do with recall healing. And I was the moment I sat in the workshop, I was this is what I want to do with my life. And so I was sitting in there and I was oh my gosh, I wanted to be gum on his shoe. And what's so beautiful is that I have students say, I want to be gum on your shoe. And so it really is.
I'm just thinking the same thing.
And so it keeps me humble, really, because it keeps me working on my stuff, because none of us have it all together. But, the most important thing, I'm a mom, I'm a grandma, I'm a wife. And that leads me deeper. And so one of my cousin's husband's a DO, and we were talking, we're like, it's got to be stress specific. It's not just like, oh, willy-nilly stress. What is that? And so when we found Recall Healing, he's like, Michelle, you have to come to this workshop. And so Gilbert came in, and his French Canadian was so fun. And so I imitate him. Oh, Michelle, think of this. Michelle, think of that. And so it was like that. And it was just like this beautiful fit. And then, I started to apply the tools because there was a lot of trauma. There was a lot of pain that I was still carrying. And I was like, believe it or not, I was like 100 pounds bigger. And so through this journey of learning about mind body medicine, it's brought me to where I am today. So I don't know if that actually covered it, but at least it gives you a little tidbit of where I am. So
It's beautiful.
That was amazing. You want to talk a little bit, Ellen? You can explain it a little bit to me, because I will tell you that it sounds like you're going back generational or even from birth and trying to bring up traumas and stuff or limiting beliefs. Like, I was diagnosed with cancer in February and had it surgically removed. And, that could be from past traumas and all kinds of who knows what.
Especially when you think about what the throat's related to.
Because it was, thyroid cancer. And they pulled it out and, they say it's pretty good. But reading about Recall Healing, I've never heard about it really before. And I was like, wow, that's crazy to me. And it's really what you do is help people to heal those traumas. And in return, it heals their body naturally. Is that what I read?
yes, that's exactly true. And we come from a society that is like, oh, something has happened in my body and we got to get it out. Instead of just saying, wait a minute, what are you trying to teach me? What have you held for me so that I could continue to live my life? I never look at cancer as a malfunction. I look at it as a turbo function. I look at, you're right, that we absolutely look at what we call the project purpose, family tree, the timeline. It's very specific. And so we look at birth order number, we look at who you're named for, we look at the circumstances around your birth, we look at what's happened in your life, in your timeline. And then we kind of put it all together. My mentor, he says, oh, we are like Sherlock Holmes. We are building the puzzle pieces. And so we know a little bit. So just by you saying, hey, I had thyroid cancer, then, we talk about key terms. Like we have several words that we're going to look at and we're like, hey, so tell me, what were the injustices? What were the things that you couldn't speak about? What were the hard times in your life? Were you wanted as a girl and you came as a boy? Or did you follow a miscarriage or an abortion? So all of those things, what happened that were in the injustices of the family tree? And so when you kind of put that all together, we say 80% is awareness and then 20% is what you do with that. And so it's like the iceberg that, it's totally like, what is in our awareness? So when I ask people, why do you think you had that? For sure, you have ideas. And so that's on the tip of the iceberg. That's not what's causing it. It's what is not in our awareness that can return as a destiny. And, I'm in the process of writing an actual book of my own. And I'm going to talk about my grandson, he had a brain tumor. And so we found the story and now he's 10 years out and he's doing amazing. And they told us, oh, that remnant that's still there, that's never going to go away. And if anything, it's going to grow. But no, that's not exactly how it works. And so through the work of German New Medicine, which is the science behind the theory. And so it kind of puts it in very specifically, and it can be, every single time. The story looks different, but those basics are the same. And so that allows us to go deeper and find it. And so within 2 hours of finding the story, Adam was a different kid, my grandbaby. And so by the time he did still have surgery, okay, because he was compromised. He had a baseball-sized brain tumor on his cerebellum, putting pressure on his breathing. And so it really actually afforded me just a deep appreciation. Before that, I was kind of like really negative about Western medicine. And, in the name of, health, Western medicine has done and harmed a lot of people. But in that moment and what has happened with my grandson, it really afforded me a new perspective that I could really appreciate. There's a time and a place for everything. But my thing is, don't go there first. Do your best to see. And many times when you bring that awareness in, it transforms your body. And that it feels like magic and for sure miracles, because I say my grandson is an absolute miracle. And they said that, but this year, and he was in the system for 10 years because they're like, oh, we have to keep check on that. And so, that continues that fear cycle. Oh, is it going to be okay?
Yeah.
Oh, has it grown? Well, your brain is going to be like, do I need a turbo function to help you with these things? So anything that's a pebble in our shoe, we have to pay attention to it, whether it's Western medicine or in our jobs or our family, whatever it may be. So this year, Adam, and we kept doing what we do, all of the different things and alternative things. And it was just, that compliment, the beautiful compliment. And he went back and he had his scan. And the doctor said, he came in and he told Adam, he's like, dude, you have no more remnant and I'm retiring. And that was the way.
You changed his life too.
For sure. And so he really was retiring. And so that, so when I see it, and the most important people, I love my clients, I love my students, but why I do this work is to heal my family first, to heal myself. And it always begins with us first. And if I'm not willing to do what I'm asking my clients, my students, my people around me to do, then I'm not going to be super effective.
Yeah. It comes through you first. That's beautiful.
Absolutely.
So you've been doing this work for over 20 years. How does your kids take to your work, and do you guys talk about your work? Are they embracing it?
So that's a really great question, because my older two came kind of later, and like I was pretty wounded, and I was in my 20s when I got married and had babies, and so it's kind of funny because I share with them. I have seen many different things transform. I've dropped little seeds. My youngest, because he was in like when he was like 5, so he knew right away. And there's been many examples, and he's like, "Mama, what does this mean? Mama, what does that mean?" So it's so cool because he gets it. And then my other two boys, it's been like you got like that little trickle down effect, and so every time I would do a workshop,
Switch their paradigm.
exactly. And so every time I would do a workshop, I would call Tim and I'd be like, "Oh, he's my oldest. I'm so sorry." He's like, "Oh, Mom, you were on another workshop, huh?" Like, yes, I was.
That's awesome.
I think one of the things that we're finding with talking to the various authors of the book is, especially when you have the split, you had older children and then later on you had younger children, that you grew as you had children, and so they got raised completely differently. And it's a beautiful thing, to see, look back on and witness for yourself your changes. I think that's probably one of the most tangible ways to witness it, right?
Mm-hmm. It's so true. And in that, it's also, it does keep me really humble, because, none of us start out to want to hurt our kids. And then it also helps me to understand that our parents really, even in spite of them being very wounded, they were really doing the best they could with the resources that they had. And, the other thing that I've learned in this work is that it's never too late to say we're sorry. Like, you know what? In that
Yeah.
moment, I totally blew it. And, as a single mom and, the older two boys, and then I had the one boy in my last marriage that was 20 years and it was much healthier. And so, but
Yeah.
it also gave my older boys some stability that they didn't have in the first marriage with their dad. And so it's been such a year too, because their dad died this year. And so it's been a whole another layer of understanding, of anniversaries, of going back, of paying attention. It's never ending. So when people ask me, "Hey, when is it done?" And I'm like, when it's time to transition, that's it.
I'm learning that I just need to accept I'm never going to stop healing.
No, 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 because the alternative is to stay in crappiness, really, and suffering. But if everything is taken as a lesson, even if it's crappy, like it's a lesson. Like over the weekend, so I just finished I'm almost done. So just like send some positive energy that they're able to get my video because it's like sketchy or something and they're having a hard time, and I'm doing a certification with Human Garage. And it's a beautiful practice. And I was thinking of that, Jim, for you too, for thyroid, so that you can continue. And also, I'm happy to send you some things. And, I haven't done a lot like personally, but I'm starting to teach them. I I believe in it as much as I believe in recall healing. And it has been that transformational in like 6 months of doing it every day, but also from 2 years of knowing it. And so it's really a beautiful kind of marriage of that, of recall healing. It helps you to understand. It helps you to make awarenesses. It gives you tools to continue that process, how to deal with the stress of the daily life. And then the fascial maneuvers in Human Garage help us to get into our body, help us to breathe out toxins and to bring pressure. So if we have disease in any shape, that means that there's just stagnation and that our body is like a pressurized system. Because if you think of it, like there's gas on the outside, there's 14 pounds of pressure on the outside. So we have to have equal to that. And then if we're sitting a lot or we're doing certain things, then the fascial system, which is like liquid crystal, it will get hard. And so it will get hard. And it's in between. The fascia is the connective tissue. And it's in between your skin. It wraps around the muscles, ligaments, tendons, bones, all of the organs. It actually communicates on the outside and on the inside. It's not the nervous system. All of it is, and it's part of the nervous system and the cardiovascular system and the lymphatic system. And it's what activates life. And so we have like a biofilm about 6 feet out, and that's our fascia is constantly interacting. And so if there's stagnation, then there's going to be disease. And so if you move your body and you breathe and you honor it, and the fascia is activated really slowly, where you don't want like muscles, ligaments, tendons, like they need that, but that puts you in like sympathetic overdrive where you don't want to be in that flight or flight. You want to get your body out to fight or flight, and we're always in it. And so we do little techniques, another avenue of techniques. So last weekend, we were there at a workshop in New York, and my heart was so full. And I was getting to be with the mentor, and I got to learn from all these other people who have been doing it longer than I have. And my husband was there participating with me. And then I had a big fallout with a friend. And she left in the middle of the workshop. And she didn't say goodbye. And she was totally angry. And I really still don't know. I have some ideas, but I still not really, really sure. because it was at night and it was in the country and she drove home and her car wasn't all that great. And I was like, wow, I went from like, I'm human. So I went from a hurt and sadness to confusion and then anger. I was like, dang, what the heck? And also then it brought up. So anytime something happens and it brings feelings up, like, oh, here's the loss of another girlfriend. What is this about? Okay. And so I start to look, what else haven't I addressed? Where else did I feel this way? And so then I start to process it. And then the end is never about us. But if it
Yeah.
activates us, and we hear trigger in our world, but I really like the word activate because it activates us. Like, what is this about? And so all day Sunday, I'm processing it, but at the same time, I'm experiencing these beautiful people and we're doing this amazing modality. And I realized, wow, she's just not ready for that. And she couldn't be here for this. And that we're different energy and it's okay. And sometimes people get plucked out, but it doesn't mean that it's not going to be hurtful. And so by the time I got to the airport, I had a scratchy throat and I was like, oh no, I'm going to have a repair phase. And we call it repair phase because my body was like, this is a stinky situation. I'm trying to figure it out. I wanted to speak my truth. And, I had to process all of that. And so when I was like more at peace about it and I landed, then the brain says, oh, this is great. We'll repair that. And that's when throat, oftentimes a cancer will come in that time too. And so that's interesting to consider what happened in the 6 months to a year before you had a thyroid cancer. And so all week I've been kind of processing it. And then we're supposed to leave on vacation, and, or my husband and I will be married 5 years next week. And so I was like,
Congratulations.
5 years happily married. This is miraculous. But he woke up, scratchy throat. So I'm like, oh no, and the other thing to consider is if you don't have the conflict, you'll never get sick. You have to have conflict. So the whole, COVID thing, it actually, and I knew from the moment that what they said was not true. So anyway, that's another
Worldwide curse.
time, right?
I love that. So, from what we read, it sounds like you were one of the biggest proponents for bringing recall healing to the United States.
For sure. My Aunt Tamara, and so because she had a breast cancer, and there's like just all these really beautiful stories about that alone, and so Gilbert came, and then ultimately I ended up organizing workshops and doing things in the United States, and other people were also, but I was the first to say, you know what, we have to. In order to have validity and credibility in our world, you have to have research. And so I started that process. And so I did my thesis in psychology on recall healing. I did my dissertation on recall healing. And then we've started an institute and I teach people how to do this. And now I'm collecting like all the data so that I can put it together and write about that too. And so that for sure will be more academic, but it's all that because I love natural. I love that, this is the way our body was designed to be. It's not, there's nothing, but we've been poisoned. We've been, led to believe that things are healthy when they are absolutely not healthy, in our air, in our water, in our food, in our clothing. It's, and
Jewelry,
I know,
makeup, everything.
I know, girl, I know. And so even, nails. So I'm like, okay, this is organic SNS,
Yeah.
So yes, so it's been this, kind of a long process. It kind of started because when my son was a baby, my ex-husband, my first ex-husband and I, we had there was a lot of conflict. And so it was very challenging. So my son was sick a lot and he had been in the hospital a couple of times and it was just super tumultuous. And so then he got vaccinations and then I started to notice that his behavior changed and I'm like, and then at the same time, for me, grace of God, because my cousin's husband was a DO and he started telling me it's just, like food and all the ingredients and the things that you're feeding him, the things that you put in his body are making a difference. And so I really started to look at that. And that really began to transform like my understanding about, oh, it's not really in Western medicine that we get healed. So, a client that is healed is actually a client that is lost, a customer.
Yeah.
And so money is, there. So we have to question everything. And I tell people, look, do your own research. You got to find it on your own. Don't believe me. It's totally okay. But, like, why not try now? Like, really? Like, your body was intended to heal itself. The indigenous peoples of the world have done it for thousands of years. Like, come on, let's learn from them.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
I will tell you what I see in society, and it's horrible to say, but most people, and I worked with a gentleman and he said that. So this was years ago. I was diagnosed with high blood pressure and he's like, oh, just go to the hospital and get a pill. You won't have high blood pressure anymore. And I was like, well, I'm only 45. I don't want to take a prescription medication for the rest of my life. There's got to be a different way. And he was totally content with just going. And I think now he's on 3 different medications when he could have just got an exercise routine, changed his diet. And Kara researched it a lot when I had high blood pressure and through exercise and diet. And it has come down in a range that I don't need medication.
that's
It still runs like 130 over 83, but it's in a healthy range just from diet and exercise. And never mind, I grew up in a crazy, crazy life, my parents. And and probably generational, seriously.
for sure. If it happens in one generation, it's happened in 7. So that's, and then, we say progress, not perfection, like we keep going. And so, how fantastic. You changed it so you didn't have to have medication, and by and large, when people start medication, there's going to be 2, 3, 4, 5 other medications that are prescribed to deal with the symptoms that come from that rather than going to the root and doing your work. And so then to understand that everything that happens in our body has a root. And so if you start to look at the emotional
I
root,
agree.
you start to look at the emotional root. So like with high blood pressure, we would look at territory and you guys are driving. So what was the territory like before? What was the territory like with your household? What has happened in the ancestry related to territory? And we talk about like worry for this territory, being over here, worry for that territory, thinking. And then high blood pressure is related to masculine mode. So I'm like disappointed in love. And so I shut my door to love. And that is also, and if it's related to kidneys, then we look at that, and so every little thing gives us insight. And then I just ask the question, how does that resonate with you? What comes to mind? How do you feel about that? Are there still feelings coming up? Because if there's still feelings coming up and you're not kind of neutral about it, that means that there's some more work to do. That's where we do it. That's the growing edge. And so just looking at those kinds of things, the hurts, and where we couldn't be loved the way that we wanted to be loved and just all of those little nuances, progress, not perfection. And then maybe your blood pressure goes down just a little bit more and a little bit more.
That
So,
makes
and maneuvers.
I will tell you, that makes so much sense to me, right? Because I've been trying to change, like raise my kid, trying to give him love. And this might mean nothing, but when I'm around my grandson, he just turned 1, I can feel my blood pressure lower. I don't know, that's probably crazy. And my heart feels fuller. And I know, like, I'm not an intimate person, and we didn't grow up with much love in my family. I tried to change it with my son, but he's
I've been
still,
pulling it out of him.
it's still in my son, that same, like, hard to give I love you and a hug, even though I tried to put that in him because we sure didn't get it as kids. We were told to get the heck outside or, get beat or whatever. So when it's just crazy because I do pretty in tune with my body. Like I knew there was something going on in my thyroid. I don't know exactly what that root cause is. But I definitely knew there was something going on right away. And I can feel the difference when I'm around my grandchild and my blood pressure and heart comes down. So it's crazy to feel those things. So my next question to you is, so do you actively still take patients to help people? Or are you so busy that you just can't take any more patients?
Well, it's super interesting. So before I had like a 4 or 5 month waiting period, but it's been an interesting time where people haven't reached out or maybe the exposure piece for me hasn't been. And so it's been kind of a slower time. So I definitely am taking new patients, new clients. I call them clients and students. And then I also have a full-fledged other facilitator who works with me. And, so we have the ability to help people. And she's amazing also. And she does the same thing that I do. Of course, we're a little bit different, but I always think like whoever's meant to work with me will work with me. Whoever's meant to work with Isa will work with Isa or whoever the other, facilitators that we have. And I've been training other facilitators in United States. I just graduated 8 facilitators last year. And so they're kind of moving around and so it's really, really beautiful. But for sure, I would love to work with, whoever comes my way. And I also have workshops and other ways to like learn it. There's lots of stuff on YouTube. There's under my last names.
I did
And
find, what was it, Larson?
Shriver?
Schrader.
Schrader, yeah, Schrader was my second husband, and so yes, so I got my PhD with Schrader, and I honor my John. He was a good guy, and it was more about learning and growing. We're still good friends, but we weren't. It's not the love of my life for sure, and so things had to change. And but our son, because of the things that we went through and what we have done, he's getting married to an amazing person. They're very compatible. They're getting married next June. And I couldn't be more delighted. And that is such a beautiful feeling like, wow, your kids are happy, and some of the work, like,
Cycle.
right? Like, and that is so true. And I know the moment that it happened, which is going to come out in the book. So,
All
so
right.
I won't give all the juicy details, but I did have to notice like, oh, that's not his. That's mine.
Yeah.
So when you recognize that your children are doing the same thing that you did or that you experienced, it's not what we say, because when we talk, it's like, rah, 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 rah. And it's the same for us. Like sometimes when my mom talks too, I'm like, oh gosh, whatever. And so it is like that. And so we have to, but working from the energetic level and taking responsibility. And basically you would just like, this is the situation that I see. That doesn't belong to them. this is how I felt. I take responsibility for that. And I release you, my darling baby, my child, my adult child, to live the life you were intended to live. And I say the life that that God intended you to live. So that they be guided and that they do exactly, because I know for sure that what I get to do is divinely led. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so beautiful.
Watching my older son grow up, he's 34, I think, and I didn't mean to at all, but he has limiting beliefs that it's like, man, I know I ingrained that in him and I didn't even want to.
Of
And
course, it's not what we want, though.
it's crazy. And
He's so funny about money. It cracks me
the
up.
more I've been learning different modalities, but different, pretty much everybody grew up with some kind of trauma or something. And
Yeah.
we've been in the last few years, really last 8 years, trying to heal ourselves from burnout and just not being happy. And it's amazing because I've been visiting the grandbaby a lot, and I see so much of my son that I instilled that in him. That's horrible. It's amazing that I can see it.
Every time you see it, that's where you take responsibility. And then you might even say, you know what, honey, that sometimes, most of the time I say work from the energetic level. But if they're open a little bit here and there and, you feel guided, you can simply say, you know what, that belongs to me. Yeah, that's exactly how I believed. And you know what? I free you from that so you can have wealthy life, that you can get out of that mindset. And no parent wants to see their children go through anything, but when you do see it and it belongs to you, that's exactly when to do the work. And I use the practice of Ho'oponopono. I'm so sorry for that. Please forgive me. Please forgive our family clan wherever it started, wherever it began. I take 100% responsibility so that this can stop. And then my prayer is always, like to the creator, the intention of my heart. Please help heal this, release this. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. And that Hawaiian forgiveness prayer has been so transformational. Like all these little things have, when it comes together, it gives you this amazing tool belt to be able to process and stop those old wounds and really transform into like a healthier family. Doesn't mean that there's not struggle, because trust me, like my mentor says a lot to me when he hears something else that has come up in my life, and he'll be like, yes, Michelle, you certainly did make an agreement to never have a dull life. And so there's always something that comes up, but the truth of it, it gives me material to do my own work so that I can help other people. And other people then are led to work with me in that moment. And it's pretty amazing. And so it doesn't mean that I'm better than anyone. It's just, this is how I apply the tools. So I'll walk with you through this. And a lot of times we can't see it for ourselves because we all have blind spots. You can't see it, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, how did I never see that before? Wow.
Yeah.
And then it comes to this.
So obvious.
It's a perfect time-space intersection. Right when it's supposed to happen, it does. And then that's the opportunity. And so sometimes we have to pray for the willingness. Oh, I got to do some work. Oh, yay. Oh, I'm so excited. Let's go. Because it's not so fun.
No. And I think a lot of the peace in the process comes from exactly what you said, just trusting that everything is going to line up the way it's supposed to, in the perfect timing. And that we all did come here with some sort of agreement, and maybe we don't like it in the moment, but we
No.
all, you know,
We would have
it's
never
hard.
made that agreement if we knew exactly what we were getting into,
I
right?
know,
And
I know.
so,
And
go
and
ahead.
we both, and same as you shared in your chapter, had traumatic childhoods, and it's really hard, I feel like, to take ownership that I had a part in that. Even though I was a child, I made a decision to come into that life circumstance, and it's really hard to face that up front. Like, it feels like a slap in the face. Like, what? Like, that is the rudest thing you could say to somebody who's been through that stuff. But on the other side, the freedom comes from the forgiveness that in winds up. Like, okay, I created this situation, whether I remember that I did or not, because it was before I got here, but that this isn't all on them. This is on me too, and that's a hard pill to swallow, but I feel like that's where the forgiveness starts to filter through.
For sure, but I kind of look at it just a little bit differently because that feels like a gateway to devalue oneself. And so really, like, for me, when I started, like, I read about Brian Weiss, like, I never believed in like any of this part, that I'm talking about. And I'm like, you know, what if I did make that agreement in order to reach a higher spiritual plane? What if I
Mhm.
did make that agreement, to marry my first husband, my second husband, to be a product of rape, to be, sexually abused, to help other people to understand, no, of course you would never choose that. Of course not. But it's a date with destiny too. And if you're coming into the family and you're a certain birth order number, we think we choose. No. And so maybe in the like umbrella of it, of before we come
Mhm.
in. And so I forget who, it was, but this beautiful, like shaman woman, she said that the reason why you have to be sewn into your mother's womb is because the moment you go into the womb, you're like, "Oh, no, what?" So you have to be sewn in because it's like, it hurts, it's so painful because it was perfection. It was completely divine. No one would choose that, but my mentor also says, you know, if you can't really learn every little thing without having these opportunities, and everything that's super painful, super traumatic, and the bigger the trauma, the bigger the opportunity. And so all of us really did make the agreement to say, you know what? We're here to transform the world. And so it's just a little different spin, just not, so that it's like, you know what? I'm I'm this, beacon of hope, and yeah, it was hard and I wouldn't want to go back there. Hopefully I don't get recycled again. I hope that's it.
Next time I'm going on vacation. Next life.
Like, can I get back to you on that agreement? I'm not really sure that I want to make that agreement.
I love it.
Yeah.
If somebody is interested in connecting with you, we'll go ahead and put it all in the show notes, but what's the best way to connect with you?
So my website is soultreetransformations.com, and I'm on Instagram under Soul Tree Transformations. I'm on Facebook under Michelle Lamasa Dawson and Soul Tree, although I'm not great about putting stuff on Soul Tree on Facebook, but better on Instagram. And so that's the best way. And you can put an inquiry in, and then there's also YouTube videos if you're just interested in learning more. On the website, there are some, just some tools on how to, start the process and, to learn, just like having these discussions and thinking about things like very specifically, whatever you have going on in your body, what is the emotion? What happened just before? Why is that the body's best answer to what you're going through? And that will lead the way. And so, however I can help a person in that journey, I'm delighted to do that. And I also have a workshop coming up. So it'd be awesome to have people come. It's an in-person workshop. It's Mind Body Skills. It's October 2nd through the 4th. It's in Woodstock, Georgia. And I invite everyone, to come and I would love to teach some of these tools so that, we can all go deeper and heal our families, heal ourselves, heal our world.
Beautiful.
I have one last
Go for it.
question.
I just wanted to make sure we got that out before we forgot.
So I've obviously in the last years have tried to change not change, but send books and stuff that I've been doing to my brothers and sister. And now they don't even take the bait at all. But my niece is interested and I want to get my other nieces interested. Have you tried to change like your parents or relatives? And how did you go about changing their mindset? Because I think that we all could live a more joyful life. And you do see society changing to a more spiritual outcome. And I've been trying to do it with my brothers and sisters, and I can't crack their egg at all. They're
adults.
just bought into, this is the way we were raised. This is the way things are going to be. And, and I just don't believe that.
It's not your job.
Well,
So
that
I was just wondering if you had experience.
yes. So
Say that again.
So I said that's the beauty of this work is that there's always one or two people in a specific family that are like you and I that are doing this work. But the majority of people, I have told people, a prophet doesn't speak to his own land, and so many times it doesn't come because we have said something, but the work that we do creates a space for them to maybe hear it from somewhere else, or maybe there'll be an opportunity that you have a real conversation. And that really energy, like to clear away whatever is blocking. And that's where Ho'oponopono comes in. And you would say something like this, I'm so sorry for whatever's in me that causes my family to be so scared, to want to change, to deal with their own pain that is so deep and hurtful. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. And then, like I always just say a prayer over it and just ask that the divine bless that. And so you have to let go of any attachment of what may show up. And sometimes it might get worse before it gets better, but it's clearing the way and that you trust that that's going on. My brother and I actually didn't talk for about 7 years. And that was like really crazy. I'm in this work and it's really hard, but I did tons and tons of Ho'oponoponos. And then last Christmas, like I had dreams and I was like, I felt totally like justified for not, talking to him. And so but justified anger can kill us. And so we want to like kind of keep it in check. And so I started having dreams. So if you have dreams, then you got to pay attention. And so I ended up writing my brother a note and saying, look, we're all wounded. And so I'm sorry if I hurt you. And, my grandpa didn't talk to his sister for 20 years. Let's not do that. And so please forgive me. And I'm sorry for, hurting you in any way, being disrespectful. And, like a month later, my ex-husband died. And my brother was there at the funeral. He also has reconnected with his nephews, and my oldest son moved to Arizona, and he like gave the kids all kinds of money so that they could, do their rooms special for themselves. And I was like, everything happens like that. And if you just transform and like justify it, honor your anger. You're justified in your anger. All of us are. But there's grace and mercy. None of us are perfect. We don't live in a perfect world. And so I hope that helps, Jim. And anything I can help with, email me, call me, and we're friends, guys. Like, right?
Absolutely.
International best-selling authors.
That's right.
Well, I will say it's been an honor. I learned so much. And whenever we get settled down, I would love to. I don't know how long something like this takes, but I'm going to look online and watch your videos and then maybe reach out. So
Awesome.
I,
would
I,
love
I, I thought it was amazing to be able to
Yay.
sit with you and listen.
Oh, I'm
So you
so
taught me a lot, and I hope that, my brothers and sister watch this stuff, that we're putting out there, and they will. I think they're just going to take a while to change
and you keep
and live a
going.
more joyful life.
Absolutely. And to like you're just practicing. You're showing them. And so you're gonna touch lots and lots of people. You guys have, I mean, who would have thought that we would have connected, right? And so you're touching so many people's lives. And so I would love to work together. There definitely is. And that how long it takes, even after one session, people have a different understanding. We do the timeline in the first session, then we do family tree. And so we kind of go deeper each time. And so sometimes I work with people 20 years, for different things off and on. And, sometimes I work with people that, like one time but I usually tell people plan 3 to 6 sessions because that will give you kind of at least a fullness to understand it and have the tools to be able to, and I do other modalities. And so I teach all of those things. So recall healing, emotion code, I do all kinds of different things, and then human garage. And so I think that that's going to be a bigger portion as well. So guys, it's been an honor for me too, just to, chat with you. And anytime you want to chat, I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you so much.
Michelle. This has been wonderful.
Thank you for joining. It's really been an honor.
Yay.
Thanks for tuning in to Kerouac's Cruising.
We're thrilled to have you with us.
We had a blast recording this episode and hope you enjoyed our adventures as much as we enjoyed sharing them.
For more amazing pictures and stories, visit our website and blog at kerouacscruising.com.
And join the conversation on Facebook at Kerouac's Cruising or email us at join@kerouacscruising.com.
We'd love to hear your thoughts and suggestions.
If you enjoyed this episode, please consider liking, subscribing, and leaving us a review.
Your support helps us reach more listeners and allows us to continue sharing our travel experiences with you.
It's a generous favor that means the world to us.
Thank you so much for listening to Kerouac's Cruising.
Until next time, happy travels.